Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today I'm joined by Kanika, and Kanika is an energy coach, and she's going to be talking to us about Akashic Records. Now, if you've never heard about it, Kashika's going to tell us everything you need to know. And the whole idea is to help us be our better selves, understand who we are, and hopefully, just help us be our better selves while going through, divorce, parenting dispute, whatever the case, or just dealing with life in general, really, right, Kanika?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What are Akashic records, and how would you explain it to someone that's never heard of it?
Yeah, the Akashic records are like a Google Drive library. It's just hanging out in the clouds. It's this mystic library that has information about everything. Now, if you think of Google Maps knows things that you search about a lot. It knows stuff that you've been browsing. It knows places that you go to more. It has a whole lot of information.
Mm.
What the Akashic records have is they have information about you, me, about everything that there is in this consciousness, and not just this lifetime, but all the lifetimes. So, all the people, all the big, the small things that I would have had, the emotions, whatever my soul is going through, all that is packed in the Akashic records. So, if I break that down, it's a little bit like this. When you go on a highway, and let's say you get stuck in the traffic jam. So you're sitting in your car and you're wondering, well, why am I stuck?
Mhm.
So you're actually asking, why am I stuck in my life? Like, why is this happening to me again? And so on. But in
Yeah.
your current life, in that situation, in the traffic jam, all that you can see is the cars next to you. You don't really have the full visibility. You don't know if there was a storm, what happened, there was a crash. You have no idea. But if you
Yeah.
could fly above, take a helicopter perhaps, you would just have a much bigger view. And that's what the Akashic records do for us as well. They help you fly over and understand you and like the story that's happening with you, why something is happening. So in your life, it might be unfolding as if you're getting triggered with something, or like we just started, there can be an everyday drama that goes on with life. You
Yeah.
might be getting triggered with your ex, or there might be just certain things like you always feel like I'm just after the last penny, like things just go out of my hands. I just never have more than that. Whatever that repeated story is, it helps you understand why that happens. And then it helps you unpack that because once you have that understanding, you can actually start cleaning it up.
Wow, Kanika, I love this because I just love that analogy of the traffic jam because that is so true. Like you're sitting there, and if you're like me, you're trying to find different radio stations that could possibly tell you what's happened, but then they're all talking about something else, and no one seems to care about the road you're on, and you just don't know what's happening. And usually it's when you drive through, when you get closer to, say, it's an accident, then you're like, oh, this is what happened. And if you're sitting there impatient and you're upset, if it's a bad accident, you almost feel remorseful, like, no, like, there's a fatality on the road. Like, it's almost humbling at that moment. But if you had maybe had an understanding, you could have conducted yourself differently. You could have thought about, maybe be a little exercise a little bit more patience in that time. So I really love that. And you said something that resonated with me. So you talked about multiple lifetimes. So in essence, you're saying it's not just what's happening, in the how many decades that have been on this earth that Akashic Records kind of, exposes to you or teaches you about. It goes beyond this lifetime. Could you expand on that a bit? I feel like I said that all wrong, but I'm an
No, no, I
expert on this
think you got it.
subject, so please.
You got it correct. But yeah, that's an important understanding to make. We think that we are all, like me and the body, for example, I would think that I am this person, Kanika, and whatever I do, that those are my limits or that is my achievement, and I operate out of this body. But that
Yes.
couldn't be further from the truth. Again, I'll give you an analogy because I think it just helps shape things a lot better. This time, think of an apple.
Okay.
Red apple, green apple, whatever you feel like. Even if you want to have a pink apple, that's okay. But chop that down. Imagine that you've chopped it into perhaps 1,000 pieces
Okay.
and take a single slice out. Now, this slice is paper thin. Paper thin. because you've chopped that apple into so many slices. Guess what? This slice is your current lifetime right now. And you, your spirit, is that whole apple. So essentially, when I just look at this lifetime from this angle, and I go, well, I want to understand why I have this repeating pattern with my partner, with my kid. Like, it doesn't matter who. But if I'm trying to do that just from the perspective of that single paper thin slice, that's a very small fraction. Like, you just don't even have the full story. Because you can be impacted by so many things that would have happened prior. I'll give you examples to bring this a little bit more tangibly. I was looking at my son, and this time he was about 2 years old. And he was one of those kids who never wanted to really take a chance and never really wanted to like do anything unless he was pushed. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, let me just find out what's happening with him and why is he not doing that? And I figured out that in one of his earlier lifetimes, he'd started working when he was a child. Like at 4 years old, he had to go out and he had to start fending and earning for his family. So this lifetime, when he came, his soul is like, you know what? I'm just going to chill and I'm just going to be the child. And that seems rational at some sense. So I had to talk to his spirit and I had to go, well, this time I'm not going to ask you to earn, you know. So you can be the child, but you can just be the child at your age because you wouldn't want to like lag behind and, you know, not climb on the swings or do other things your age. Like it'll be a lot more fun if you grow up along with your age and did the things that you would want to do. And I assure you that I'm not going to make you work and you'll get to enjoy your childhood. And that was it. And that really cleared it up. He could get that in the body. And this is not me having a conversation with him, it was just spiritual work that I did, talk to his spirit and clear it up that way. And if I give other examples of my clients, there's a client who came to me because he is a business owner and he always had this, like his business was never stable. It was like doing really well or not doing well at all. And it would be not doing so like at such a bad stage that it would almost be like, oh my God, I will need to, you know, let go of the employees. Like it's really bad. It's getting to that level. And he's like, no, but I've done it over and over again. Like then I managed to get it back up. Then it goes down. Then I get it back up. And it's just somehow not a smooth ride. Guess what? When I looked at his past life, one of his past lives, the one that was most dominating, that was coming out, was where he'd been a warrior. So he'd been this conqueror. He would go out and he would win the war when it was really difficult. When no one else could do it, he could do it. And so the imprint that he was carrying from there was that I'm this victorious person. But you know, for victory, he had to have that high. It had to be difficult. Then he had to win. So that's what he was doing in this life. Like he wasn't actually going to war, but the warrior part in him wanted to feel that sense of victory. So we are really getting impacted by the apple because if the soul imprint is that there's some rotten thing in there, there's some wax, there's some cracks in there, like if you chop it up, chances are it's not going to be the healthiest looking slice. So your lifetime is not going to be the healthiest looking if the soul has been scarred.
No, this is powerful stuff. It really is. Wow. And I'm so blown away by the two examples, to be honest, because and especially with a 2-year old, I that's interesting to know that you could do that kind of work even on a child and get results. So that's amazing.
I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
is one of the most beautiful things that I like about it because A, it's quick. You're talking spirit to spirit, right? We don't really understand or give as much, perhaps, weightage to the fact that we're all spirits. So when we talk spirit to spirit, the language, the interaction is very clear. The interference is gone. The noise, the ego, the perceptions, the judgments is gone when you can just talk spirit to spirit. And if it's all resolved there, like it just moves. It moves very quickly because the apple is healed, you know? So the change comes onto the slice just very automatically. Whereas when we work within, like within that person in the life, like without tuning into the Akashic records, We're talking
Yeah.
that slice to slice, but the slice is still getting impacted by the whole soul and
Oh,
whatever that apple is feeling or has been scarred by.
that is absolutely amazing. How did you get into this work? Like, this seems so profound. How did you start doing this work?
I was an engineer. I am an engineer. I'm an MBA
Yeah.
professional. So I'm actually a very, very black and white person. And a few years ago, if you'd ever asked me about any of this, I would have just laughed it off. And then life happened, like as I was growing along. I think around 30, probably there was that mid 30s crisis that I was going through. I was feeling really disconnected with work. I was unhappy. My life, personal life, professional life, like everything sort of seemed to not be going okay. And I didn't know what to do with it. I tried dabbling into meditation, tried looking at things then, but the left brain thing, it just could not make sense of it. I was pregnant with my daughter at that time. And then one morning I woke up and I just did not have any movement. Went to the hospital, found out that there was no heartbeat. So I lost her. For me, that was the turning point. Because so far before this, whatever had happened in my life, I was able to sort of numb it down. You take a coffee, you go watch a movie, talk to your friend,
Yeah.
run away from the thing, put your mind on something
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
This just wasn't something I could numb down. And I just had so much guilt, so much shame. I think it was the peak. It was the tip of the iceberg. There was just so much below. She just happened to show that to me. And I really wanted to connect with her because I wanted to tell her that I love you. And I wanted to also understand from her, like, what really happened. So I think first time, or maybe now I was getting more open to the idea. So then,
Mhm.
as they say, you find your teachers. When the student is ready, you get the teacher.
Yes.
And so I happened to find my teachers, got into energy healing, got into Akashic records then. And that's how I learned. And one profound thing that I learned from there was as I spoke with her and I said, why did this happen? And she told me about our soul contract. So before coming on earth, get this, we all have
Yes.
soul contracts for our key relationships. Like we define this is what we want to learn, and
Okay.
so we sort of define in the relationship, hey, I want to learn about love. Can you teach me this? Hey, I want to learn about boundaries. Can we play it out that way? Now we come into the body and
Mm.
it's a whole different experience because we feel it. But this was my soul contract with her. My
Yeah.
contract was that if I'm not really making use of my life, just try and give me some signals and come wake me up. And that's what she was trying to do. So the times when I was feeling disconnected, she was actually coming in and trying to tell me. And I didn't listen. Then I didn't listen. Like she tried to do it as loud as she could. And then she just had to do something that was drastic where I would really listen.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Did that help you feel did that help with the pain that you felt from losing her? Just
Oh,
getting this.
totally. For me, yes, that was a big closure. And that's how I help other parents as well. Because also it gave me this gift that I could reach out and talk to her. I think one of the grief that we have with death is that death seems the ultimate finite ending, whereas it's
Yeah.
not. Like death, birth, they're sides of the same coin. And death, birth, that's in the body. The soul continues. So I can always still reach out to her, talk to her. She's one of my biggest teachers. She's my guides as well. So definitely like it's been profound, but it's a different connection.
Wow. That is, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Kanika. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot. And I think I do this also because I want to tell people that it doesn't matter what it is that you're going through, because, maybe your divorce feels really bad. Maybe the conversation that you have with your ex or whatever you're trying to split off right now, that feels very hard. It's very heart tugging. But for me, my growth came from that place where I felt the most darkness. And I've seen it over and over again as an energy coach as well. That those moments, unfortunately, we have to get there sometimes to learn the lesson. But those exact places other places where you'll start shining because the light will come in right there. So you're just a step away from that growth, from that learning, from that evolution. So don't give up. It's okay. You'll come out stronger on the other side.
Encouraging, definitely encouraging. So let's say, so I'm just thinking from a practical perspective. So someone is going through, this difficult divorce and they're fighting for their children and everything just, they're wondering how they're going to, take care of themselves financially. And they come and they get introduced to your work and they understand there's something they need to do. How will that play out in that context?
This work works very quickly
Oh,
because you're doing it energetically. It's very
yeah,
quick, and often you don't need to, like, never do you need to actually do the physical thing, physical conversation with your ex or with your kids. Like, I've helped parents who have some troubles with their kids. I've helped
yeah,
parents in custody battles as well. Actually, I'll give you an example. There's this dad who came to me because his ex was filing a custody lawsuit against him. And her claim was that, you had, like, they were splitting the time with their daughter equally. Of course, both
yeah,
of them wanted that. And she was taking
yeah.
that away because one time what had happened was that the daughter was in his care and she fell down. She was a 6-year-old, so he wasn't expecting her to fall down. She fell down, which kids can, and she hurt her head. She had a concussion. They had to go to the hospital. The daughter was okay, but the mum was using this as an example to say that you are careless. You haven't looked at the doctor after our daughter well enough. So from now on, I'm going to take full custody of the child. And she was going to file that lawsuit. And she was like dead against it. Like, it was a very egoistic thing where she was really full on after him and she planned a whole letter and so on. So that's when he came. And typically that's when clients come as well, when things are like really at the helm and they're like, okay, now I need to do something, which is why I said, pain teaches. But what I did during our session, and it was just a 1 hour session. So I looked, first of all, at his energy, because everything that happens to us happens because somewhere inside us there is a connection, there is a programming, there is an imprint, a scar, a belief that allows that thing to happen. It's not our fault. We don't know it. But there is something in us, like there's something rotten in the apple. It might not be our fault. But if the apple is rotten, the lifetime, the slice that we cut out of it is going to have that impact. So I first looked at his energy and then we cleared that up. So for him, there was this whole fear around abandonment. There were lots of things with his past life where he'd felt abandoned. So there was this pull, like this back and forth pull that was going on and that was playing out, that had played out with his ex, and now it was starting to play out with his daughter as well. So first we cleared that energy so that he wouldn't have that impact. And then I looked at him and his daughter because I wanted that energy space to be harmonious, to be loving, to be enjoyable for both of them. Clean that, heal that space so that they would just be able to have a really good time. And then finally, I got the mum as the spirit to have a look at everything. So, as a spirit, when you look, you're looking really person or spirit to spirit, like it's very clean. Ego goes away from there. The need to defend goes away from there. The need to prove yourself that you are worthy, somebody else was unworthy, attacking, that goes away from there. You're just talking spirit to spirit. So it's very rational. It's very loving. It's actually held in a lot of light and in unconditional love, like a love that doesn't compete. What was happening with the mum was that she was feeling herself that also that she was a lesser mom. Like if the daughter was talking about the dad, and typically you would see that playing out in the custody
Yeah.
battles all the time and as a divorce lawyer, that there's this feeling going on. Oh, now my child's talking about the other parent more. Maybe they love the other parent more and my value was less. There was a lot of that going on with her. So I cleared that energy. And once that was cleared, so for me, the first sign is that in the vision, so when I'm doing my session, I'll see that the energy is very clear. And so I could already see that. And I got all of them into a very harmonious space as well, because they're still a co parenting unit, even if they're not the same family, but they're still co parenting together. Got all of them together, cleared that energy. And that's how we wrapped up the session. But the beauty is what happened the next day. So he dropped his daughter off to school, and when he dropped her off after school. So when he went to the mom and she came out, she's like, I was thinking about it, and I think maybe it's a step too far. I probably don't need to do this right now because it won't just work for our daughter. And that's exactly what we had worked in the session. So it was 1 hour, and that whole lawsuit was gone.
The mom wasn't even in that session. This was done without her involvement.
All my sessions are without, like, let's say, the other person, because there's a connection, there's an imprint in us. It's also us, it is us that also attract everything to us, right? It's our apple. There's some wiring, there's some scarring in there, and so we just heated that bit, and then the impact was gone because there was nothing to stick to it. There was no connection left.
And so, how does this play out? So, does that mean you do the one session and everything is fine forever? Or do you think, this is something that needs to be worked on, from time to time? Because I imagine other conflict could arise in that co-parenting relationship, for example, right?
Yeah, yeah. So typically, I say that during one session, it's like one root issue. But as you would see with any evolution, let's say your understanding about love, your understanding about money, like, we grow up in stages as well. So your whatever modality you do, like there's a little bit what's happening with the healing work is think of your apple, think of how big your apple is, as in how much size you can have. And so initially when we clean that, that's the amount of space that you can take. So maybe that's the amount of space you can have with the co-parent as well. So you can maybe at that time you're just ready with, okay, fine, now we are not fighting, and that's a good enough step for me. So that's all. If that's what you're ready, and the healing will go a little bit beyond that just to help you clear the energy. But that's if that's what you're ready, because as at a body level, you have to allow that, you have to integrate that within as well. So, what are you ready for? You get that. Now, after that, there might be other times where you're like, well, but now I am still paying for X and Y, and this is not equal, this is not fair in whatever opinion, so I want more. And maybe there are other things that are coming off that as well. So that's a progression, which is like in normal life. And then you would need more sessions depending on that. You would need that. But I can teach you tools during the session as well. Typically have some other angelic guides coming to me. So I will leave them with next steps that this is what you do to keep your space, healthy.
Mhm.
Like your house, if you don't clean it, it's not going to stay clean, right? Like we need to brush our teeth, we need to shower, we need to clean our energetic space. Like if you just
Yeah,
let gunk collect in, a healer can't do
exactly.
anything.
No, that's exactly what I thought, because I'm thinking you don't just clean once and you're done. So how often do you sort of recommend that somebody does this kind of work? Because quite frankly, I mean, we all have a lot of areas in our lives we probably need to clean up, right?
Yeah, and it goes deeper and deeper because the more work you do, you just realize deeper layers. Like, very much in the beginning, when I started with this work, I thought, like once you start doing this work, like you're just like a monk, everything is all clean and you don't feel anything. But I can tell you now that even monks have their growth. They're
Hmm.
also going
Hmm.
through stuff. And so
Yes.
are all of us as well. All the spiritual teachers, they'll also tell you that they're going through their own things as well. They also grow, they also evolve. And it's just a process of how much more are you able to take? How much more space can you take? What are you ready for? How much are you allowing in your body? And keeping that. But you can learn the modalities. They are very easy. That's what I like to leave people with as well. So I teach classes too. And often, then my recommendation is going to be depending on what they're open for, because sometimes it might just be a one on one session and that's it. That's all that they need. But depending on what shows up for them, it might be, hey, this could help you further. So it doesn't have to be that I have to hold the space for them. They could also just learn it on their own. Like someone else could drive you in a car. You could also drive yourself in the car.
Yeah. Another good one. You have all these great analogies. Okay. So I mean, this is all great stuff. I mean, I think you've given us so much to think about and just, cleanse. And so I mean, would I be right when I think of this and say, well, a lot of the conflict, people that are separating or dealing with is really just them not doing the work inside. It's deeper than what you do outside. And this is all new for me because I'm obviously used to I'm dealing with the issues that I see. For me, it's so clear. The child it's one side or the other. Now, if I'm working as a mediator, that's different. Then I'm thinking, okay, how can I help these parties come together and deal with this issue because I'm seeing it on that surface level. But I mean, I guess it's wouldn't be too bold to say that there is so much more that and quicker work that can be done if people just deal with things on an energy level. But is it possible that conflicts may still exist even though they've done this work on an energetic level, but maybe it would help dealing with the physical issues a lot easier? Is that a stretch for me to say?
No, not at all. I think you've got it absolutely right. You start working with it, and it's like peeling the layers of an onion. And so, in the beginning, you'll see some little impact, then you'll see some more impact, some more impact. And I'll give you my example. When I started doing this, so remember, I talked about my daughter. She passed away, and I think I was into my whole journey. This was my awakening journey with her. And that sort of also kickstarted for me the understanding that, okay, I was really unhappy in my marriage and I needed to separate. And our separation that time wasn't great at all. Like it was toxic. It was, if you saw us, we were just like in a very high conflict situation. The only thing we agreed on was that we need to separate. So when we separated, and I had a 4-year-old son with me at the time, and I was like, gosh, how is this going to work? Because I wanted my son to have a nice, harmonious environment. I couldn't even think of it. But, knowing all these tools and working with the Akashic records, working with energy healing, I'm like, well, it doesn't hurt. I can just always sit up and keep doing and do this work. So every time I would see him and things, in the beginning, they're always like you want to be a little bit one up on the other. It is always that you've separated, but you haven't still separated at some level, like you're still fighting. And I was like, well, I
Yeah.
want to stop this. So I would just do the work that I'm sharing. That time I was learning, but I was just doing this work. And I remember speaking with someone at that time, and she told me, like another clairvoyant like me, and she said, you're going to have a really good separated relationship. Like people are going to look at you and they'll think like, oh, this is how the relationship should look like. And this is like very early on when we had just moved, like day 1 or day 2 after separating. And that's not easy at all. And I'm thinking, not possible. But no harm. So I just kept doing my work. But even 4 months in, I could feel, and this is me learning, I could feel that things were changing so much. So my son was little at the time, but still at an age where he could understand that we were not good with each other. And I
Yeah.
remember picking him up from dad, bringing him home, and he's like, "Mom, you why don't you and dad like get together?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, hon? We can't because, we just fight and we don't get along well with each other." And he's like, "No, but I've seen you now. Like you are good friends."
No, no way you said that.
But it is so cool that for him, it was possible for
Yeah.
us to be able to make that relationship workable. And he did not see that. And if you looked at us today, or even if you looked at us then, people would not know that we were in a disharmonious relationship because we can get along, we'll talk, we will do birthdays together, we will do all the major things together. We'll even invite, like if he had his parents over or I've had my parents over and there's some celebration, we'll invite them as well. So, like, you'd see it from the outside, it's pretty harmonious. And even if you sat in with us, it's harmonious. Yes, we're not best friends. We sort of know there's certain things we don't talk about. We have our different ways, but it's pretty good. Like, pretty good. And I think that what my friend was saying at the time, that, it's a good separating example. I think that is true. And I share that only because we have a lot of bad examples
Of
where
course.
people are fighting all the time. And sometimes it's good to have that role model. Like I've always enjoyed looking at people who have something because then you go like, okay, if they have it, I can have it too. And what do I need to do so that I get there as well? So it
Yeah.
is possible. And all you need to do is do the inner work. All it takes, like I wasn't speaking with my ex and I wasn't telling him that this is what you need to do to fix yourself. I was just fixing me. I was fixing my triggers. I was fixing where I was reacting to him. I was fixing that in me. I was understanding why I was feeling so triggered and healing that for myself.
That is interesting. I mean, I've read a lot of books that kind of mirror that concept and say, the only person to work on is yourself. And I mean, that's absolutely amazing that that's what you did. But I think you take it one step further and you just, go and you don't just deal with the one slice of the apple. You just, make sure that you heal the whole thing. And that's a lot, and that's just, I mean, that's amazing and I'm just so pleased that there's a resource like you. I'm happy to have had this opportunity to share your story, share the work that you do, because I know I mean, we do have clients that would definitely not be interested in doing the energy work and all of that, but I know that with it's something that's becoming a lot more mainstream, and there's a lot of my clients that this would really resonate with, and a lot of people out there in the world, and I'm just happy to have this opportunity to be able to bring you to them, because you hear it. I hear clients make these comments, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of true. We know that there is more to life than the physical that we see, and there's things that we need to do, but you've broken it down in such a way that is so easy to understand, and it's almost like, why aren't we all doing this? Whatever they be, right?
I know, I think, and that's my passion. That's what inspires me as well. Because
Yeah.
I also think of the child in between. You know, we think like we are fighting for the kids, we think like we're trying to do the best for our kids. But that's ego a lot of times. What your
Mm.
child really wants is to have a harmonious place. Like they have continuous grief all the time if their parents are separating. And I hope all parents understand that because a lot of times we feel like it's in the moment. We feel like when we are separating, when that divorce is happening, when those discussions are happening, that's when your child's missing. Your child may not know the language, but the truth is, your child is grieving all the time. And I'll tell you why. Because when they have a holiday, because when they have any key moment in their life, there's one person now that they can talk to. And they see their friends, and they also perhaps love the other parent. They want that parent to be a part of that. So, your kids, especially if they're coming from different homes, they're learning different rules. There's a way in which the other parent does things, where clothes are kept, how shoes are kept, how dinner is made, and it's different to your home. They're constantly adjusting. Think that their bed is getting adjusted every day. They're trying to get love from one parent, then they're coming back. They're seeing, okay, this other parent behaves, wants things in a different way. Think of that when they're growing up, whether they're teenagers, whether they've grown up. Like their base for them is really shifting all the time when they're trying to understand who they are. They're trying to understand how do I get love. That whole thing for them is all the time, it's shifting. So I really hope that all the parents can just wake up to this realization that our kids need us to be a lot more unconditional with love and to approach this whole situation, keeping their well being in mind and hopefully being able to keep our ego back.
Amazing. Kanika, if someone wants to work with you, how can they do that?
Well, I can be found at Kanika Energy Coach on Instagram or YouTube. So at Kanika Energy Coach. And then my website is artoflifecenter.com. Feel free to send me an email, hook up, send me a message, and I'll have a chat and we'll start from there because I'd like to approach you where you're at and give you things that support you on your journey.
Amazing. And I'll have this information in the description as well. So if everyone that wants to do that can get to you, that way as well. So they don't have to feel like writing frantically, that's fine. You will have it in the description. But Kanika, are they able to do this from anywhere? Because obviously we have people from, different locations and all of that. Is this work that they can do with you virtually, or does it have to be in person?
Oh, that's the beauty of it. So they can do it anytime with me from anywhere. There's online sessions that I do. We can do online one on one sessions as well. Otherwise, I also have a lot of recordings available, but that depends on what they're really after. And I have a lovely freebie for parents as well who just want to start understanding the soul contracts with their kids. Like if you've heard all of this conversation and you're going like, what's my story with my child and how can I heal
Yeah.
that? Like what's your pattern, right? Like every relationship, there's a wiring, there's an energetic frequency. Is it wired at love? Is it wired at a little bit of like, I'm going to prove like who's the boss? There's a silent dynamic going on.
Hmm.
Control
Hmm.
dynamic, like what is your frequency at? So my freebie is around helping you understand your soul contracts, your karmic agreements, and then healing that. So it's a 3-part audio series, and you can get that at artoflifecenter.com/parent. Very easy, but I hope it really helps all the parents rewire their relationships to more love and ease.
Oh, thank you so much, Kadika. I appreciate your time. This has been amazing. And just, I have nothing to add, honestly. I just feel at a place of peace and better understanding. And just thank you for the freebie. I'll provide that link as well so that, people can, for those that want to get started that way as well, that's something for them. So that's it for today. And again, thank you so much, Kadika.
Thanks a lot, Angela. It's been such a pleasure being here.